The void between the stars was supposed to be empty. Dr. Zathara had studied space for over 200 years, and she knew the darkness well. Her crystal body caught the light from the ship's sensors as she stared at the impossible sight on her screen. "This cannot be right," she whispered, her voice making small bell sounds as it always did when she was nervous. The other scientists on the bridge of the research ship Harmony's Edge gathered around her station. Commander Yithak, a tall blue creature with 4 arms, looked over her shoulder at the data. "What are you seeing, Doctor?" "A ship," Zathara said. "But it should not exist. Look at these readings. The metal is old, very old, older than our oldest records. The thing floating in space ahead of them was massive. It was dark and silent, turning slowly as it drifted between star systems. No lights showed on its hull. No signals came from its communication arrays. It looked dead, but something about its shape made the crew feel uncomfortable." Dr. Henthera, a floating jellyfish-like being from the water worlds, moved closer to the viewing screen. Her tentacles waved nervously as she spoke. "The design is unknown to our databases. I have never seen anything like this. The ship was long and angular, covered in what looked like battle damage. Massive holes had been torn in its sides. Burn marks covered its surface. Whatever had happened to this vessel, it had been violent. Should we report this to the Council?" asked Lieutenant Gracthus, a small reptilian being who managed their communications. Zathara held up one crystalline hand. "Not yet. We need to study it first. This could be the discovery of a lifetime. A ship from before the Great Peace, before the Council united all the known worlds." The Harmony's Edge moved closer to the ancient vessel. As they approached, their sensors began picking up more details. The ship was not just big, it was enormous. It stretched for kilometers in every direction. Its hull was made of metals they had never seen before, arranged in patterns that hurt to look at for too long. "Doctor," called Ensign Merck from the scanning station. "I am reading strange markings on the hull. They look like writing." The main screen shifted to show the side of the dead ship. Carved deep into the metal were symbols and pictures. They covered almost every surface, layer upon layer of different languages and scripts. Zathara's excitement grew. "Those are warnings," she breathed. "Multiple languages. Some I recognize from the old archives." She began to read the translations as her computer worked through the ancient texts. "Do not wake the sleepers. Death follows those who disturb the warriors within. Turn back while you still can. They are not like us. They do not stop fighting." The bridge fell quiet. Several crew members moved away from the viewing screen. Commander Yithak's 4 arms crossed over his chest. "Perhaps we should listen to these warnings." "No," Zathara said firmly. "These are just primitive superstitions. Ancient beings feared what they did not understand. We are scientists. We study the unknown. We do not run from it." She turned to address the crew. "Think of what we might learn. This ship could tell us about civilizations that existed before our records began, about species that lived and died before the Council brought peace to the galaxy." Dr. Henthera's tentacles continued to wave with worry. "But what if the warnings are real? What if there really is something dangerous inside?" "Then we will be careful," Zathara replied. "We will follow all safety protocols. We will study it from a distance first." The research team spent the next several hours scanning the derelict vessel. What they found made no sense. The ship appeared to be bigger inside than outside. The hull reading suggested vast empty spaces and corridors that stretched for impossible distances. "The internal structure defies our understanding of physics," reported Dr. Kelvon, their engineer. "The corridors are built for beings approximately 2 meters tall. Bipedal, 2 arms, probably 2 legs. Like the old myths," whispered someone from the back of the bridge. More warnings appeared as they scanned deeper into the ship's structure. These were fresher, written in what looked like the same language that appeared on the older carvings. The computer translated them with growing unease. "Those who sleep here have fought wars that lasted centuries. They know only battle. They see only enemies. Do not let them wake. The galaxy is finally at peace. Let them sleep forever." The newest warnings were the most detailed. They spoke of something called the Endless War, and those who fight until stars die. They described beings who had turned warfare into an art form, who had conquered entire sectors of space not for resources or territory, but simply because they could not stop fighting. Despite the growing pile of warnings, Zathara pushed forward. "These are just stories," she insisted. Primitive cultures always created myths about powerful warriors. It helped them explain things they could not understand. By the end of their first day studying the ship, they had found dozens of airlocks and entry points. All of them were sealed, but their scanners showed that the atmospheric systems inside were still functioning. Something was keeping the air fresh and the temperature stable after all these thousands of years. The ship is maintaining itself, Dr. Kelvin reported. Automatic systems are still running. It is almost as if it is waiting for something. Commander Yithak looked uncomfortable. Waiting for what? For someone to come aboard, Zathara said with excitement. This is our chance. Tomorrow we prepare an exploration team. That night, as the Harmony's Edge held position near the ancient vessel, several crew members reported strange dreams. They dreamed of endless battles and warriors who never surrendered. They dreamed of fleets so large they blocked out stars, and planets burning under the fury of endless war. Dr. Henthara found Zathara in the laboratory, still studying the scans from the derelict ship. Doctor, perhaps we should reconsider. The warnings are very clear, very specific. What if they are not myths? Zathara looked up from her work. Her crystalline face showed determination mixed with scientific curiosity. My dear colleague, in all our years of peace, in all our time under the Council's protection, have you ever encountered a real warrior? A being bred for nothing but conflict? No, Henthara admitted. War ended before I was born. Exactly. These warnings were written by beings who had never known true peace. They feared what they did not understand. We will not make the same mistake. Outside the viewing ports, the ancient ship continued its slow rotation in the void. In the darkness of its hull, things that had slept for millennia began to stir. Deep in the ship's heart, where the warnings were thickest and most desperate, something started to wake up. The discovery that would change everything was about to begin. The exploration team suited up in the early hours of the next cycle. Dr. Zathara led the group, along with Dr. Henthara, Engineer Kelvon, and 2 security officers. They carried scanners, sample containers, and translation devices. None of them carried weapons. The Galactic Council had banned military weapons over 1,000 years ago. Remember, Zathara said as they approached the airlock of the ancient ship, we are here to learn, not to disturb. We touch nothing unnecessarily. We record everything. The airlock of the derelict vessel opened easily, as if it had been waiting for them. The seals were still good after all these years. Air rushed out to meet them, carrying a strange metallic smell that their suits filtered out. Atmosphere is breathable, reported Kelvon, checking his readings. Oxygen, nitrogen, trace gases. But there is something else. Something our scanners cannot identify. They stepped inside and their lights revealed a corridor that stretched away into darkness. The walls were metal, but not like any metal they knew. It was dark and seemed to absorb their light. Every surface was covered in more warnings, carved directly into the walls. The writing gets more urgent the deeper we go, Dr. Henthara observed, her tentacles trembling as she read the translations on her scanner. Turn back. Do not wake them. They are not like you. They were made for war. The corridor was built for beings larger than most council species. Everything was functional, built for use rather than beauty. There were no decorations, no art, no signs of culture beyond the warnings. It was a military vessel, designed by beings who thought only of conflict. They found the first chamber after walking for nearly an hour. It was enormous, filled with hundreds of glass tubes that reached from floor to ceiling. Each tube was filled with a strange blue liquid, and inside each one floated a figure. Cryogenic suspension, Kelvin whispered, but the technology is beyond anything we know. These systems have been running for thousands of years without maintenance. The beings in the tubes were bipedal, as their scans had suggested. They were tall, with pale skin and hair of various colors. Their bodies were muscular and marked with scars. Even in sleep they looked dangerous. They look so peaceful, Dr. Henthara said. Zathara moved closer to examine one of the tubes. The scarring suggests repeated injuries that healed. These beings lived violent lives. As she spoke, her scanner accidentally interfaced with the tube's control system. Warning lights began to flash. An alarm sounded throughout the chamber. What did you do? Kelvon demanded. I do not know. The scanner just touched the control panel and the alarm grew louder. Throughout the chamber, the tubes began to drain. The blue liquid flowed away and the sleeping figures started to move. We need to leave, said one of the security officers. Now, but it was too late. The first tube finished draining and opened with a hiss of escaping gas. The being inside stumbled forward, coughing up the last of the blue liquid. She was tall, with short dark hair and skin marked by old battle scars. Her eyes opened and immediately focused on the alien exploration team. The woman spoke in a language their translators did not recognize. When they failed to respond, she switched to another language, then another. On the fourth try, their translation systems finally engaged. "Identify yourselves," the woman said in a voice that cut through the air like a blade. "What is your purpose aboard this vessel?" Dr. Zathara stepped forward, trying to project calm scientific authority. "We are researchers from the Galactic Council. We discovered your ship drifting in space. We came to investigate. I am Dr. Zathara." The woman's eyes narrowed as she took in their appearance. She looked at Zathara's crystalline form, at Hinthara's floating tentacles, at Kelvon's multiple arms. Her hand moved instinctively to her hip, where a weapon would normally hang. "Unknown species aboard a human military vessel," she said, more to herself than to them. "Hostile boarding action. Bridge must be secured." "Wait," Zathara said, raising her hands. "We are not hostile. We are peaceful researchers. We meant no harm." The woman ignored her and moved to a panel on the wall. She pressed several buttons and spoke into a communication device. "Command, this is Commander Sarah Chen, 3rd Infantry Division. Unknown aliens have boarded the Perseverance. Recommend immediate general quarters." Throughout the ship, more alarms began to sound. The humans were waking up. Commander Chen turned back to face the aliens. "How many of your people are aboard this ship?" "Just us," Hinthara said quickly. 5 beings from our research vessel. We are scientists." "Scientists do not board military vessels without permission," Chen replied. She started moving through the chamber, checking on the other awakening humans. "What are your offensive capabilities?" "We have no offensive capabilities," Zathara protested. "The Council banned weapons centuries ago." "We are peaceful." Chen stopped and stared at her. "No weapons at all?" "We resolved all conflicts through diplomacy and trade agreements. We have not fought a war in over 3,000 years. The look that crossed Chen's face was a mixture of disbelief and something that might have been pity. 3,000 years of peace, she repeated slowly. "That explains why you are still alive." More tubes were draining now. Other humans were awakening, and they moved with the same deadly efficiency as Chen. They spoke in short, clipped sentences and immediately began organizing themselves into what looked like a military formation. "Commander," called one of the newly awakened humans, a man with gray hair and sergeant stripes on his uniform. "Perimeter is secure. No immediate threats detected." "Good," Chen replied. "Sergeant Morrison, these aliens claim to be peaceful researchers. They say their people have not fought a war in 3 millennia. Sergeant Morrison looked at the alien team with the same mixture of disbelief and pity. "That is a long time to go soft, Commander." Dr. Kelvin tried to step forward. "We should explain. We represent a coalition of thousands of species that have worked together to eliminate conflict from our section of the galaxy." "Thousands of species," Chen repeated. "And none of them fight?" "Why would we fight?" Zathara asked. "We share resources. We trade knowledge. We solve disputes through negotiation." The humans exchanged looks that the aliens could not interpret. There was something in their expressions that spoke of experiences beyond the aliens' understanding. "Commander," Morrison said quietly, "if they have not fought in 3,000 years, they will not know what is coming." "What is coming?" Dr. Hinthara asked, her tentacles waving with increasing anxiety. Chen looked at her for a long moment. "The rest of us," she said simply. As if summoned by her words, more alarms sounded throughout the ship. The awakening was spreading. Lights that had been dark for millennia began to flicker on. The ship was coming back to life, and with it, 30,000 human warriors were beginning to wake up. "We should return to our ship," one of the security officers said nervously. Chen moved to block their path to the exit. "No one leaves until I understand the tactical situation. Sergeant, escort our guests to the briefing room. I need to report to Captain Rodriguez." "Guests or prisoners?" Zathara asked. "That depends," Chen replied, "on whether your people represent a threat to human interests." As the humans led them deeper into the awakening ship, the aliens began to understand that the warnings they had ignored might not have been primitive superstitions after all. They had awakened something that their peaceful galaxy was not prepared to face. The briefing room was designed like everything else on the ship, purely functional. Metal chairs surrounded a simple table. Maps and tactical displays covered the walls, showing star systems and battle formations that meant nothing to the alien visitors. Commander Chen had left them here with Sergeant Morrison and 2 other humans while she went to wake the ship's command staff. Dr. Henthera's tentacles curled nervously around herself. "They treat us like prisoners," she whispered to Zathara. "They treat us like a threat," the crystal being corrected. "There is a difference." The humans in the room stood at attention, watching the aliens with eyes that never stopped moving. They checked exits, evaluated potential weapons, assessed threats that the aliens could not see. It was behavior that the peaceful council species found deeply disturbing. The door opened and more humans entered. The aliens could tell immediately that these were the leaders. They carried themselves differently, with a confidence that spoke of absolute authority. The man at the front was older, with gray hair and stars on his uniform. Behind him walked Commander Chen and several others. "I am Captain Marcus Rodriguez," the gray-haired man said as he took the seat across from them. "Commander of the UEF Perseverance, you have boarded my ship without permission and activated our emergency revival systems." Dr. Zathara tried to project diplomatic calm. "Captain, we sincerely apologize for any misunderstanding. We are scientists from the Galactic Council. We discovered your vessel drifting in space and came to investigate. We meant no harm." Rodriguez studied each alien in turn. His eyes lingered on details: their biological functions, their technological equipment, their potential capabilities. It was the evaluation of a predator. "The Galactic Council," he repeated. "How many species belong to this council?" "Currently 4,732 member species," Dr. Kelvin answered proudly. "We represent the largest peaceful coalition in known history." "Peaceful," Rodriguez said. "Commander Chen tells me you have not fought a war in 3,000 years. "That is correct. We achieved universal peace through cooperation and understanding." The captain leaned back in his chair. "Universal peace, interesting. Tell me, what happened to the species that disagreed with your methods?" The question caught the aliens off guard. Zathara's crystalline features shifted with confusion. "I do not understand." "All species agreed that peace was preferable to conflict." "All of them?" Rodriguez pressed. "Every single species in your section of the galaxy decided to give up their independence and join your council." "Well," Dr. Henthera said hesitantly, "there were some that chose to remain isolated, but they agreed to our non-aggression treaties. And the ones that refused?" Silence fell over the room. The aliens looked at each other with growing discomfort. Rodriguez nodded slowly. "You do not remember them because they are gone. Absorbed, eliminated, or driven so far away that you forgot they existed." "That is not true," Zathara protested. "The Council does not eliminate species. We negotiate. We find common ground." "You find common ground with species weak enough to submit," Rodriguez corrected. "What you have created is not peace. It is the victory of the weak over the strong through sheer numbers." Commander Chen spoke up. "Captain, we should brief them on our situation." "Yes," Rodriguez agreed. "It is time they understood what they have awakened." He activated a display on the wall. Star maps appeared, showing a section of the galaxy that the aliens did not recognize. Red markers indicated planets, and the sheer number of them was staggering. "This was human space," Rodriguez began. 400 star systems. Over 2,000 inhabited worlds. Home to 30 billion humans and the greatest military force the galaxy had ever seen. Dr. Kelvin studied the display. What happened to them?" "We destroyed them," Rodriguez said simply. The aliens stared at him in shock. "Not the planets," he continued. "The civilizations that lived on them. Species that thought they could conquer humanity. Aliens that believed humans would make good slaves. Empires that saw our worlds as resources to be harvested." The display changed, showing battle formations and fleet movements. The scale was beyond anything the aliens had ever imagined. Thousands of ships engaged in conflicts that spanned entire star systems. "The Zephyrian Empire came first," Rodriguez explained. "They were proud, ancient, technologically advanced. They had conquered dozens of species before they found us. They demanded our surrender and offered us the privilege of serving their empire." "What did you do?" Dr. Henthera asked, though she was beginning to fear the answer. "We showed them what humans do to slavers," Commander Chen said. "The war lasted 47 years. When it ended, the Zephyrian Empire no longer existed. You genocided an entire species," Zathara whispered in horror. "We freed every world they had conquered," Rodriguez corrected. The Zephyrians themselves had a choice: join the free worlds as equals or face trial for their crimes against other species. Most chose trial. The display showed more conflicts. The Hegemony War, where humans fought against machines that sought to convert all organic life. The Purifier Crusade, where religious fanatics tried to cleanse the galaxy of impure species. The Resource Wars against corporate entities that strip-mined entire systems. Each war was bigger than the last. Rodriguez continued. We got better at fighting, better at winning, better at making sure our enemies could never threaten anyone again. But surely some species chose peace, Dr. Kelvon said desperately. Many did, Rodriguez agreed. They joined the Human Federation. They shared our technology, our resources, our protection. And when the final war came, they fought beside us. The final war? The display changed again. This time it showed a map of the entire galaxy, with a massive dark area spreading from the galactic core. The Devourers, Rodriguez said quietly. Beings from outside our galaxy. They consumed everything, matter, energy, life itself. They turned entire star systems into nothing but empty space. The room fell silent as the aliens absorbed the implications. The war against the Devourers lasted 300 years, Rodriguez continued. We threw everything we had at them. Every ship, every weapon, every life. The final battle was fought at the galactic core. We used weapons that cracked space itself. Did you win? Zathara asked. We destroyed them, Rodriguez said. But the cost was everything. Every human world was gone. Every allied species was extinct. The core systems were uninhabitable. The only survivors were the military units that were too far from the front lines to participate in the final battle. This ship, Commander Chen added, contains 30,000 of those survivors. Soldiers, engineers, support staff. The last remnants of human civilization. Dr. Henthara's tentacles waved in distress. But why did you come here? Why travel so far from your home? Because there was no home left to return to, Rodriguez said. We traveled for 2,000 years looking for a place where humans could start over. A place where we could finally stop fighting. Our navigation systems failed, Chen continued. We have been drifting in this void for over 1,000 years. Our people went into stasis to preserve resources while our automated systems searched for a habitable system. The captain stood up and walked to the display. And now you tell me that we have drifted into a section of space where 4,000 species have achieved universal peace through cooperation and understanding. The way he said it made the aliens realize how naive their achievement sounded to these veterans of impossible wars. Captain, Zathara said carefully, perhaps we can help you find a place to settle. The Council has many uninhabited worlds suitable for colonization. Rodriguez turned to look at her. Doctor, you still do not understand. We are not refugees looking for charity. We are the descendants of a warrior species that conquered a galaxy. We know only conflict, strategy, and victory. But you could learn, Dr. Henthara insisted. You could adapt to our peaceful ways. The humans in the room exchanged looks that might have been amusement. Ma'am, Sergeant Morrison said gently, we have been fighting continuously for over 1,000 years. War is not something we do. It is what we are. Through the ship's intercom system, they could hear the sounds of 30,000 humans awakening from their long sleep, voices calling out unit designations, equipment being checked, systems coming online. The Perseverance was becoming fully operational for the first time in a millennium. And somewhere in the darkness of space, the peaceful research vessel Harmony's Edge was detecting massive energy signatures as the ancient warship's weapon systems began to power up. The Harmony's Edge detected the power surge from the human ship immediately. Captain Yithak stood on the bridge, his forearms moving frantically across multiple control panels as alarms filled the air. Power readings are off the scale, reported the sensor operator. Whatever they are doing over there, it is generating more energy than our entire ship's reactor. Are they preparing to attack? Asked the communications officer. Before Yithak could answer, his screen lit up with an incoming transmission. The face that appeared was human, older, with silver hair and eyes that had seen too much war. Unidentified vessel, this is Captain Marcus Rodriguez of the United Earth Federation ship Perseverance. You will maintain your current position and make no aggressive moves. Any attempt to approach or withdraw will be considered a hostile act. Yithak activated his own transmission. Captain Rodriguez, this is Commander Yethak of the research vessel Harmony's Edge. We are peaceful explorers. Your people are holding members of our crew. We demand their immediate return. Rodriguez's expression did not change. Your people will be returned when I am satisfied that you represent no threat to human interests. Until then, they remain aboard this vessel for their own protection. Protection from what? From us, Rodriguez said simply, and ended the transmission. Aboard the Perseverance, the awakening continued. Dr. Zethara and her team found themselves escorted through corridors filled with humans preparing for something they called Condition Yellow. The aliens watched in growing horror as these ancient warriors moved with casual efficiency through routines designed for war. Weapons check complete. Called out a human soldier as they passed. All systems green. Tactical assessment finished, reported another. 16 potential breach points identified and secured. Medical bay is operational. Combat surgical unit standing by. The humans spoke of violence and death the way the council species discussed weather. It was simply part of their daily existence. Commander Chen led them to the observation deck, where they could see their own research vessel through the massive viewing windows. The Harmony's Edge looked impossibly fragile compared to the human warship. Your people are probably frightened, Chen observed. They have never seen a real military vessel before. Is that what this is? Dr. Hinthara asked. It seems so much larger than necessary for defense. Defense? Chen looked confused for a moment, then understanding dawned on her face. This is not a defensive ship, Doctor. This is a dreadnought. It was designed to project force across entire star systems. She gestured to the weapons arrays visible on the ship's hull. Those main guns can crack a planet's crust from a light year away. The missile systems carry enough firepower to sterilize a solar system. The defensive screens can withstand the explosion of a small star. Dr. Kelvin stared at the weapons in disbelief. Why would anyone build such a thing? Because our enemies built bigger ones, Chen replied. In war, you build the most powerful weapons you can, or you lose to someone who did. Through the ship's communication system, they could hear Captain Rodriguez addressing his crew. His voice carried the authority of absolute command. All hands, this is the captain. We have made contact with a coalition of species that claims to have achieved galactic peace. Initial assessment suggests they are technologically advanced but militarily negligent. We will proceed with standard first contact protocols. Dr. Zethara felt a chill run through her crystalline structure. Standard first contact protocols. Assume potential hostility until proven otherwise, Chen explained. Secure tactical advantage. Gather intelligence. Prepare for conflict. But we are peaceful, Hinthara protested. We represent no threat to you. You represent 4,000 species with advanced technology and no military experience, Chen corrected. That makes you either the greatest ally we could hope for, or the most dangerous threat we have ever faced. The observation deck's doors opened, and Captain Rodriguez entered with several of his senior officers. The aliens could see the difference immediately. These humans carried themselves with the confidence of beings who had commanded in battles beyond imagination. Dr. Zethara, Rodriguez said, I need you to understand something. My ship contains 30,000 humans who have known nothing but war for their entire lives. They are trained killers, bred for conflict shaped by centuries of combat. They are the most dangerous beings your peaceful galaxy has ever encountered. Surely you can control them, Zethara said desperately. I do not want to control them, Rodriguez replied. I want to understand whether we can coexist with your council, or whether we will inevitably come into conflict. He activated a wall display showing tactical information about the Harmony's Edge. The human analysis was devastatingly thorough. Every system, every vulnerability, every possible threat the research vessel might pose. Your ship has no weapons, no shields, no armor, Rodriguez continued. It would not survive 30 seconds in a real battle. Neither would its crew. Dr. Kelvin studied the display with growing alarm. How did you learn so much about our ship so quickly? Standard sensor sweep, one of Rodriguez's officers answered. Basic tactical assessment. Your vessel is completely transparent to our scanning systems. But our sensors could not penetrate your ship at all, Hinthara observed. Military-grade stealth systems, Rodriguez explained, designed to hide us from enemies with far more advanced sensors than yours. The implications were becoming clear to the aliens. These humans did not just know how to fight. They knew how to fight beings far more technologically advanced than the Council species. "Captain," Zathara said carefully, "what do you want from us?" "Information," Rodriguez replied. "I need to know about your Council, your military capabilities, your response to external threats, your history of contact with hostile species." "We have no military capabilities," Zathara admitted. "We eliminated them centuries ago when we achieved peace. No standing armies, no defensive fleets, no weapons of mass destruction. Nothing like that exists in Council space." Rodriguez exchanged looks with his officers. The aliens could not interpret their expressions, but they sensed these were not reassuring answers. "What about external threats?" Commander Chen asked. "Hostile species from outside your territory?" "There are none," Dr. Hinthara said. "All known species in this region have joined the Council or agreed to non-aggression pacts." "All known species," Rodriguez repeated. "What about unknown ones?" The question hung in the air. The aliens realized they had never considered the possibility of threats from beyond their explored territory. Suddenly, alarms began sounding throughout the human ship. Rodriguez and his officers immediately moved to action stations. "Captain," came a voice over the intercom. "Long-range sensors are detecting multiple vessels approaching at high speed. Configuration unknown. Estimated arrival in 6 hours." Rodriguez's expression hardened. "Battle stations. All hands prepare for contact with unknown hostiles." The transformation was immediate and terrifying. The humans around them shifted from diplomatic mode to combat readiness in seconds. Their casual demeanor vanished, replaced by the focused intensity of predators preparing for battle. "Unknown hostiles?" Zathara asked. "How do you know they are hostile?" "Because they are moving in attack formation and their approach vector suggests an intercept course," Rodriguez replied without looking away from his displays. "In our experience, peaceful visitors do not approach like that." Through the viewing windows, they could see the Harmony's Edge frantically signaling the approaching vessels. The research ship's crew was probably trying to establish peaceful contact, following standard Council protocols. Commander Chen studied the tactical display with professional interest. "Captain, the approaching vessels appear to be using some form of stealth technology. Our long-range sensors are having difficulty maintaining locks." "How many?" Rodriguez asked, uncertain. "Could be 12, could be 20. They are good at hiding." Dr. Hinthara's tentacles waved frantically. "Captain Rodriguez, please contact our ship. Tell them to withdraw to safety. They are not equipped for any kind of conflict." Rodriguez looked at her with something that might have been sympathy. "Doctor, your ship is exactly where it needs to be. If these newcomers are hostile, your people will serve as an early warning system. You would sacrifice them?" "I would use every available asset to protect 30,000 human lives," Rodriguez replied without hesitation. "That is what command means." As the unknown vessels drew closer, the humans prepared for the kind of conflict the Council species had spent 3,000 years trying to forget. The peaceful galaxy was about to remember why the warnings around sleeping warriors should never be ignored. The unknown vessels dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. 18 ships arranged in a pattern that spoke of military precision and hostile intent. They were sleek, predatory, unlike anything in the Council databases. "Scan complete," reported the tactical officer aboard the Perseverance. "Ships are heavily armed. Unknown technology. They are targeting both vessels." Captain Rodriguez stood calmly at his command station watching the tactical display. Around him, 30,000 humans prepared for war with the efficiency of long practice. Communications, attempt contact with the unknown vessels. Standard first contact protocols. "Aye, sir. Broadcasting on all frequencies." Dr. Zathara watched from the observation deck as her own ship tried desperately to establish peaceful contact with the newcomers. The Harmony's Edge was broadcasting every peace treaty, every diplomatic code, every symbol of non-aggression the Council had developed over 3 millennia. The response was swift and brutal. Energy beams lanced out from the unknown ships, striking the research vessel's engines. The Harmony's Edge shuddered under the impact, its peaceful mission ending in violence it was never designed to withstand. "They are firing on the research vessel," Commander Chen reported unnecessarily. "I can see that," Rodriguez replied. "Tactical assessment?" "Standard piracy pattern. Disable engines, board vessel, steal resources and technology. Crew survival not a priority for the attackers." Dr. Hinthara's tentacles writhed in distress. Captain, you must help them. Rodriguez looked at her with the patience of someone explaining simple concepts to a child. Doctor, this is why the warnings were written. Your people have forgotten that the galaxy is not a safe place. On the tactical display, the unknown ships were moving toward the disabled research vessel. Their intentions were clear. This was not first contact, but predation. Sir, the communications officer called out, the unknown vessels are transmitting. Audio only. The bridge filled with sounds that made the council species recoil in horror. Harsh voices speaking in guttural tones discussing the value of various alien species as slaves and the market price for their technology. Pirates, Rodriguez confirmed, probably operating from the Galactic Rim. They have been watching your peaceful shipping lanes and decided to take advantage. But how is this possible? Zethara demanded. We have treaties. We have peace agreements. With known species, Rodriguez pointed out. These are not known species. They are predators from outside your territory, and they see your council as a collection of helpless prey. The alien scientists watched in growing horror as the pirate ships began their boarding operation. The Harmony's Edge offered no resistance because it had no weapons. No shields, no way to defend itself, Captain, Chen said quietly. Request permission to engage. Rodriguez studied the tactical situation for a long moment. 18 enemy ships against one human dreadnought. In the old days, before the Great Wars, those might have been challenging odds. Now they seemed almost insulting. Denied, he said finally. The aliens stared at him in shock. You will not help? Dr. Henthara whispered. I will help, Rodriguez replied, but not in the way you expect. He turned to his communications officer. Open a channel to the pirate vessels. Channel open. Sir? Rodriguez's voice filled the void between ships, carrying the authority of someone who had commanded fleets in impossible wars. Unknown vessels. This is Captain Marcus Rodriguez of the United Earth Federation. You are attacking beings under my protection. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. The response came quickly, filled with laughter and crude insults. The pirates found the idea of a single ship threatening their entire fleet amusing. Sir, the tactical officer reported, they are demanding our surrender. They want to add our ship to their collection. I see, Rodriguez said calmly. Commander Chen, bring us to combat readiness. All hands, battle stations. This is not a drill. The transformation of the Perseverance was terrifying to watch. Weapon systems that had slept for a millennium came online with deadly efficiency. Shields that could withstand stellar explosions powered up. The ship that had drifted lifeless in space became a predator of unimaginable capability. Weapons status? Rodriguez asked. All systems operational. Main guns charged. Missile tubes loaded. Point defense online. Target the lead pirate vessel. Minimum force. Sir, minimum force against an unknown threat? We are not here to exterminate them, Rodriguez explained. We are here to educate them. The main gun fired once. A single beam of coherent energy reached across space and touched the lead pirate ship. The vessel simply ceased to exist, vaporized so completely that not even debris remained. The pirate fleet stopped their boarding operation immediately. Rodriguez opened the channel again. That was minimum force. Withdraw now or I will demonstrate maximum force. The pirate response was immediate and panicked. Ships scattered in all directions, abandoning their assault on the research vessel and fleeing into the void. Shall we pursue? Chen asked. No need, Rodriguez replied. They will spread word that this region is protected. Other pirates will avoid this area. He turned to face the alien scientists. This is why the warnings existed, Doctor. Your council has created a paradise, but paradises are attractive to predators. Dr. Zethara's crystalline form was shaking. We never knew. In 3,000 years we never encountered anything like this. Because you eliminated all the warriors, Rodriguez explained. You created a society that could only exist in perfect isolation. But the galaxy is vast and not everything in it desires peace. Through the viewing windows they could see rescue shuttles launching from the Perseverance toward the damaged research vessel. Human medical teams and engineers were already preparing to help the council crew. Why are you helping us? Dr. Henthara asked. Because that is what soldiers do, Rodriguez replied. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. Over the following hours, the humans demonstrated capabilities that astounded the alien scientists. They repaired the research vessel's engines with technology far beyond council science. They treated the injured crew with medical techniques that bordered on miraculous. They did all of this with the casual efficiency of beings who had been soldiers for lifetimes. When the immediate crisis was over, Captain Rodriguez called a meeting in the Perseverance's main conference room. The alien scientists sat across from the human command staff, finally beginning to understand the magnitude of what they had awakened. "The galaxy is not as peaceful as your council believes," Rodriguez began. "Today was just a small example. There are worse things in the void between stars, species that make those pirates look civilized." "What do you suggest?" Zathura asked. "A partnership," Rodriguez replied. "Your council has achieved something remarkable, a coalition of species working together for mutual benefit. But you are defenseless against external threats." He activated a star map showing the border regions of council space. "We propose establishing a human military presence on the frontier. We will protect your territory from external threats. In exchange, you will help us learn to live without constant warfare." Commander Chen leaned forward. "Captain, are you certain our people can adapt to peace?" "I do not know," Rodriguez admitted. "But for the first time in 1,000 years, we have the opportunity to try." Dr. Hinthara's tentacles waved thoughtfully. "A symbiotic relationship. You provide protection, we provide, what? Hope," Rodriguez said simply. "You show us that intelligent beings can exist without constant conflict. That civilization can achieve something beyond mere survival." The negotiations took several days. The Council would establish a new territory on the Galactic Rim, specifically for human settlement. The humans would serve as protectors of Council space, defending against threats the peaceful species could not handle alone. "There will be conditions," Zathara warned. "The Council will want oversight. Limitations on your military activities." "Acceptable," Rodriguez agreed. "We have spent 1,000 years learning how to fight. Perhaps it is time to learn how to live." As the two vessels prepared to depart for Council space, Dr. Hinthara found herself on the observation deck with Commander Chen. "Do you really think it will work?" the alien scientist asked. "Can your people truly learn peace?" Chen was quiet for a long moment, watching the stars. "My great-grandmother fought in the Resource Wars. My grandmother died in the Purifier Crusade. My mother commanded a fleet against the Devourers. I have known nothing but conflict since birth." She turned to look at the tentacled being. "But my children, if I have them, might know something different. They might learn to build instead of destroy, to create instead of conquer. And if they cannot, then at least they will be building and creating in a galaxy, protected from the things that would destroy everything you have achieved." The research vessel Harmony's Edge and the dreadnought Perseverance set course for Council space together. Behind them, the void between stars remained empty and peaceful, watched over by sensors that would detect any threat long before it could reach the worlds of the innocent. The legends had awakened, but they had chosen to become guardians rather than conquerors. For the first time in their violent history, the humans had found something worth protecting rather than defeating. In the depths of space, the warnings carved into ancient hulls were finally obsolete. The sleepers had awakened not to bring war, but to ensure that peace could continue to exist in a galaxy that had forgotten how dangerous the darkness could be.